Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers podcast, where Kev kind of leaves us hanging right on the spot at the very end, and I'm trying to quickly throw together an overlay, like normal. I'm Angelus de Mortiel, together with Xaiphen, who's correctly on the overlay this time. And don't worry, we happily will throw Kev under the bus. He'll throw me under the bus. We all throw each other under the bus. That should be the actual name of the podcast, should be the Bus Throwers podcast, but it's not as marketable.
I'm just wondering who's driving this fucking bus.
They're getting their work in though.
I know they're running people over left and right. They must be watching way too many zombie movies.
Yeah, exactly. So, in any case,
Zombieland, that's a good movie.
Yes, well, exactly. Yeah, Zombieland bus driver. So, in any case, while Kev will be late and will be showing up probably at a very inopportune time, making me mess up my overlay again, normal. Regardless of that.
Scrub stuff.
Scrub stuff. We do have a lot of stuff to cover, so we're going to try to get through as much of this stuff as we can. We kind of wanted to get started on time to try to get through all this because there's a lot. So the first thing that was on the docket here for it, which I have to bring up my notes because there's so much shit, trying to keep this all straight is challenging sometimes. But the first thing on the docket that I want to talk about, and this is kind of one of the more minor stories, depends on who you're talking to, was about a week ago or so. I would say it's about 8 days ago now, something like that. 9 days ago. Some period of time in the past. There was a little bit of a tiff between well, it wasn't really a tiff. Let me start this back on here. Essentially, you had Fallout 76, which, by the way, is going to be a recurring term or a recurring game mention here throughout the podcast, but Fallout 76 was getting pretty criticized by everybody all over the place, right? And so the journalist for Kotaku, Jason Schreier, wrote an article essentially saying, yeah, criticizing the game, but y'all don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you're talking about a game engine. Not entirely wrong, mind you, because a lot of people don't understand what a game engine is. They don't understand that it's essentially the set of tools that's used to make a game, not the people think that it's like the
it's not how the game works.
Yeah,
it's how the game's put together.
Exactly. People think that it's like it's the chassis or the engine of the car, when in actuality it's the garage and the set of tools that are in the garage is what the game engine actually is.
Tools and parts.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't always understand that, so they usually say if a game runs crappily, oh, it's the game engine. Well, that can be a contributing factor, but also there's other factors in that too. And that's what Jason Schreier was trying to get at with the article he wrote explaining to people how a game engine works. Which, that would be fine if that's what he did. If he just said, hey, I'm just wanting to dispel some misinformation because some people don't seem to be getting it quite right. Here's what a game engine is. I wouldn't have any complaints. But that's not what happened. In that article, he decided to, speaking of this bus throwing business, decided to throw Yong Ya, who's a news commentator for gaming news in general, throw him under the bus and calling him a YouTube provocateur, which, for people that don't know, provocateur is usually a negatively connotated word used to describe someone who is riling people up, right? You're trying to get people going. You want to talk about the actual term YouTube provocateur. A good example of that would be Logan Frat Boy Paul. He does outrage videos where he does crazy shit trying to get people going, what did he do? Like taking pictures with a dead body hanging in the suicide forest in Japan. That's a YouTube provocateur. Yong Ya is a news commentator, which means he tells people, relays people an internet story, and then shares his opinions about those news stories. Maybe it might be provocative by nature, and that I personally can say is probably agreeable, considering that you're not going to pick boring news stories to share, right? You want to pick interesting
Usually,
ones.
no.
Yeah. So
that's, where people's general criticism of news tends to go anyway, is because they try to get the most sensational story because it gets people watching.
yeah,
Whereas, more mundane news, well, no matter how important it is, people don't care as much and it doesn't bring in money. So people shy away from those, especially when they're opinion pieces.
yeah, exactly. And that's something that I notice that happens a lot on there, is that like you in general, people want the clicks, right? So they're going to share the juicier stories. Well, and the comedy of that, of course, is
Here's the special mug.
Oh, no special mug this week. No, I'm in the ToGo Cup this week because needed the coffee.
He's in a rush.
Yeah, but I was in a bit of a rush. So, in any case, though, the thing is that Kotaku and Jason Schreier himself also tends to pick more sensationalist stories. Not necessarily always sensationalism, although Kotaku has plenty of clickbait. I don't think Jason Schreier particularly does a lot of that. But he's still picking news stories that are going to be more hot topics. Because otherwise, nobody's going to read that shit. No one wants to read, here are the financial reports for EA over the third quarter in 2018. They're up 13%. Like, nobody wants to read that news story, right? So, in any case, the main thing is that he kind of throws Yongya out as a YouTube provocateur. Yongya, of course, kind of takes it in stride and jokes and says, "Yeah, okay, whatever, man." And it makes a video about that, but it's also still kind of focusing the story on Fallout 76, which is kind of what the hot topic is at that moment. They exchange some tweets back and forth. Then trying to be like, essentially Jason offers to come on a special YouTube video with Jason and do a video with him. And then from my appearances of watching this video, appears to pretty much berate Yongya and his audience for the next like hour. And I'm like, I shouldn't say berate. He proclamates to Yongya and his audience for an hour. And the issue I have is that there is a certain degree to where, yes, you might think that a YouTuber is not a journalist because, well, in many cases, they are not journalists. There might be YouTubers that are also journalists out there, but Yongya is a commentator. He's not a journalist. And essentially, as a result, it seems like Jason holds Yongya and other YouTubers in a low esteem as a result, and thinks that they are essentially scavengers or some kind of other low organism that is just like a parasite, right? That's how he seems to think of them. And what I want to kind of discuss, I want to get your not actually covering Hot Topic.
Sorry, you couldn't resist.
Yeah, what I kind of want to get your thoughts on, Xaiphen, as we kind of cover this one and try to get to the next one, is whenever someone comes on, obviously with no respect of the person they're talking to, do you think it's even worthwhile for Yongya to engage with that person?
Yes and no. See, from my point of view, I engage, like, I would engage until a point in which I see it is going nowhere, and then usually I drop it. If it comes to the point where I'm actually proving wrong, I cop to it and I usually back away. If it is not, and I just know that the conversation or lack thereof is going to actually go nowhere, then I do usually drop it. However, in the case of Yang, this makes him money.
True.
that kind of debacle, as it were. In one way or another, it's getting YouTube views for him. It's going to make him money. So yeah, he's going to engage just for the sake of, it's his income, it's his job. He may not like it, it may suck, but there's a lot of people that don't like their fucking jobs, but that's the way he makes his money. So yeah, he's going to engage. And if I were in that position, then yes, I would engage too, and I would try and take it further. Just because like that's what my means of income is. I will try to posit my position as best as possible, but it's one of those things that I'm not going to just drop it and walk away knowing I can't get anywhere, just because I want to. Just like, you run into a position at whatever job that you have that is just not going to go well whatsoever, and the best thing to do would be to walk away from it, but it's your job, so you can't. Otherwise, you're not making money.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear, just while I can never say his name. Sorry, dude, I butcher your name every time. Craig New. Anyway, maybe, I don't know. In any case,
we need to get this guy guesting on our podcast so we can actually tell a person.
Yeah, exactly. But no. So to be clear, Jason Schreier is actually probably what I consider to be the closest thing to an actual journalist in the games media nowadays. Like everybody else that's writing articles, they're no different from a YouTuber. They're just news commentators. All they do is they regurgitate press releases from major news company or major games companies, and then maybe give their thoughts. Maybe they'll do a game review where they're sharing again their opinions about a game.
So, something we need to clarify on that: press release is not news; it's advertising. It may have some truthful news in there, but a journalist will take that press release and they'll go further digging. A lot of times where you see toward the end of said article that's an actual piece of news that they say, whatever has not replied to comment back, or we've gotten comment back from this company, because they're trying to clarify certain details or lack thereof in these press releases. Press release is only part of the story, and it's very obviously very biased in the company that's giving out the release.
Yeah, exactly. It is a very, very carefully crafted message from the company. So whenever you see someone just say, "Oh, Bethesda announced this," or "EA announced that," it's like, that's probably about only 10% of the actual truth. The rest is being carefully obfuscated, because press releases, especially when you're dealing with like a company like EA that's publicly traded, press releases are used to affect investor trust. Because if bad news comes out about your company, hey, guess what? People are going to sell their shares, right? So the thing is, though, is that Jason Schreier has released several news pieces that were actual proper investigative journalism, where he's actually has some sources, he's reporting information that the actual company that he's investigating would not otherwise tell you. Like whenever he came out with this news piece about the development hell that was Mass Effect Andromeda. BioWare and EA sure as hell did not want the public to know that. That is very certain. But he actually broke that news and actually kind of did his own digging, got his own sources. That's proper journalism, and that's a rarity. There's maybe one or two other people of the hundreds that do like a lot of that journalism nowadays, and it's unfortunately sad. But the major point is that, and now based upon what I've seen of his tweets and such on there, he may not be a person that I particularly like. He seems like he's got a personality that I probably would bash heads with him quite a lot. That being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't do some good by being a journalist. It just means I don't want to see his Twitter account. Like that. And yeah.
The Twitter account is the downside of many public figures, as I've seen.
It is.
It's like, okay, they may be edging on certain bad traits in whatever profession they have, and then they start posting on Twitter. And it's just like, all right, well, now you either seem ignorant or incompetent. You could have covered this up by just staying the fuck off of Twitter.
I mean, It's pretty much along the lines of where I see it is. You look at how many public figures have burned their careers with shit they said on Twitter. You know,
Yeah, it's critical. It is gold sometimes,
it is
but
gold.
embarrassing.
But you know, so you guys see,
Embarrassment gold.
and the thing is that in that discussion that Jason had with Yongye in that stream, there was actually this comical moment when he was like, yeah, you know, you shouldn't really pay attention to my Twitter. It's just stream of consciousness thoughts that I changed my mind on a minute later. And I'm like, you do realize that there's other people that have had those stream of consciousness thoughts that might have edged on the side of being, you know, bigoted towards a particular group of people, like, say, a racist comment or something like that, that now has gotten them fired. Like James Gunn, for example. He made tweets on Twitter like years and years ago when he was trying to be edgy and cool by making some comment that was like, I don't know, it had something to do with pedophilia or something like that. And that years later got him fired by Disney. So the thing is that nobody can really say that Twitter is not something that people should pay attention to, because people do, and you can't think that that is not going to happen. But yeah, Twitter is gold. I enjoy many of the nonsense that people share on there, because it is just endless entertainment. Usually I have my tweet deck up over here just watching everybody's nonsense pass me by, and it's so much fun. Almost as fun as that one other site, Reddit. Yes, Reddit. I don't know why my camera keeps unfocusing. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so I think we kind of we've spent enough time on this one, because we have to get moving. We have to get on to the next one. So the next guy on the docket, though, is going to be getting into even more fun stories. We have to talk about the FTC, and that they recently started investigating loot boxes. So to kind of lay out the news story on here real quick on there. First, an article got published, a report got published in England that suggested there's a potential link to loot boxes and the increase in problem gambling or gambling addictions in young people. Those, like, I think they said 12 to 16 or something like that. Which is it's a pretty bad look if you have loot boxes in your game, right? So obviously, then a politician that was there was some kind of a conference or whatever with the FTC chairmans or the commissioners that were in there, and that politician then said, "Hey, here's a report about how loot boxes are bad. Are you guys gonna look into it?" And they pretty much all unanimously said, yeah, we'll look into it. No commitment on time frame on there, so obviously that could happen anytime between now and 50 years from now. But there was still a commitment by the FTC to start investigating them. The major problem that comes up then is that now puts some heat on a lot of the ESA and the ESRB in the United States, because, well, Belgium has already outright banned loot boxes from their any games sold in Belgium. So now essentially the ESA and the ESRB still stuck by their statement of like, loot boxes enhance the gaming experience for gamers and don't negatively affect the game in any way, and they give players a choice. Now, they didn't say pride and accomplishment, but I really just felt like we needed to add pride and accomplishment onto the end of that.
You mean never mind.
They give you a sense of pride and accomplishment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sure.
Well, I guess my major question on here, the thoughts I want to ask from you, Xaiphen, is: do you actually think that there will be any sort of immediate investigation, or do you think it's just going to get stalled out in red tape and
it's going
politics?
to stall? I don't see it get it being immediate, but it's going to stall. But I don't. There is something going to happen about it. That's the thing, is like eventually there's going to be a crackdown. I don't know how far or extreme they're going to go with it. When all is said and done, there will be eventually an investigation. just because of there's a certain amount of outcry. The reason why is, companies are starting to lose money with aggressive loot boxing. It has been a huge moneymaker, but now due to excessive outcry, not excessive, it's not excessive, due to significant outcry, people are starting to back off on, paying into those loot boxes, with the exception of the compulsive gamblers that can't fucking help it. They're going to do it no matter what. But some people are more actively avoiding that level of investment. In some cases, the game itself, they're just saying, fuck no, I won't even, buy the base game. And as, say the case of EA, they have, a capital the marketing terms a lot better than I do, but revenue income, they've noticed a loss of profits. And they may not be directly associated with this, but they're going to come to that association. And as they do that, they're going to have less aggressive lobbying into Congress as trying to favor their loot boxes and other things like that. And as they're no longer lobbying so aggressively in favor of them, then the government's actually going to start looking at it and making laws regarding it.
My thing is that, and I kind of agree with you on there, and to the chat, to Krekenu and Morris, I think there will definitely be a lot of that. Although the devs specifically won't, that's what the ESA is for. For anybody that does not know, the ESA, the Electronic Software Association, is a lobbying group that lobbies directly to the government on behest of all the big members of the gaming industry. I'm pretty certain EA, probably Bethesda, probably Ubisoft. I don't know. I can't remember offhand.
Publishers, exactly. Not developers. That's something to clarify on that. Yes, in some rare cases.
It depends on the developer, right? So
if
it's
for the most part, it's the publishers that are reaping the rewards of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is it is primarily publishers, but it's also just like game companies in general. Like, for example, ZeniMax might be in it, not Bethesda Publishing. Right. In any case, though, the ESA has very rigorously in the past gone through and tried to kill any sorts of game legislation in the past, which, to be fair, I actually have not had a problem with in the past, because back in the 90s, there was that whole like religious fueled thing of like games make kids violent, which you keep hearing popping back up periodically. And despite the fact that there being millions of gamers worldwide that don't go out killing people, I think I have a Mortiel fallacy where I went off on that one for a while. Actually, yes,
yeah, I actually was able to tune into that one.
Yeah, there was a Mortiel fallacy on that one. In any case, though, the ESA then founded the ESRB. Now I'm all out of focus. Founded the ESRB with the intent of trying to kind of curtail any government regulation. So essentially, they came up with the ESRB and rating systems so that if a game is mature, it's got more mature content than a game that's rated E for everyone, etc. That was only entirely done to avoid regulation by the government. So the government pretty much said, hey, regulate your own shit or we'll do it for you. And they did it. But the problem is that now what's happened is that as time has gone on, the ESA and the ESRB have done less regulating of the games industry and more just purely defending against regulation. Essentially, their defense is, we regulate ourselves. You don't need to worry about it. And of course, that probably comes with a hefty campaign contribution to somebody. That sort of thing. It's Washington. Come on, we all know that shit's happening. But the major point of it is that thus far the U.S. government has not said a single word about any sort of regulation, except for that there was a brief upheaval with Battlefront 2 where you had the Hawaiian congressman say, "Oh, loot boxes are bad," and then there was some coming up from I think it was Oregon and maybe Washington or something like that, and then that just died. another Mortiel fallacy that I went on there. There was much utilization of the corporate marketing tactic called "make the outrage outdated," where they just kind of kept the news quiet, didn't do a whole lot more fuck up, and just let essentially they did something else to make people more outraged, where they weren't talking about the loot boxes anymore. Yeah. In any case, so as far as that goes, I really don't see there being a lot of action on this, unfortunately. It's disappointing to know, but that's kind of why a lot of us out there are like just kind of clamoring to educate people as much as we can. And it's one of the reasons why I appreciate Jim Sterling, because he educates people and gives people clear, concise talking points on loot boxes, and he keeps repeating the message over and over again and doesn't let it die, doesn't let it just go quiet, so that way it can't just be forgotten and then everybody's just gambling again. But unfortunately, that's really about where it's going to go from there. That being said, try to get on to the next news story, which is the most fun one that I think we're going to get on here. Well, no, I'm sorry. We've got one more first. We do have one more first. And that is...
But wait, there's more.
That's Apple. Because Apple, being Apple, just can't help themselves. Well, actually, it's not really Apple's fault. So, the thing is here is that Apple recently is being sued for kind of an anti-competitive... I think it's not an antitrust lawsuit, because it's not technically the FTC taking action against them. It's a person suing them, claiming monopolization. So small little like tick there, but essentially what people are claiming is that essentially Apple are price fixing by charging 30% to their the people selling apps on the Apple App Store, and that people have no alternative to buy the app elsewhere. So essentially, if developer wants to sell something as cheap as possible on the Apple App Store, they have to charge $1, and they're only making 70 cents on that dollar, right? And essentially, people are saying there's no alternatives. You can't buy apps anywhere else, so you have no choice. Apple's argument is, it's the developer that sets the price. We don't have any choice in that, so we can't be price fixing. The argument that came back to them is that, well, you're the one that is collecting the money from this. People are purchasing it from you, then you give the cut to the developer of the app. So no, people are buying these from you, and this case can't go forward. There's been no other decision other than the case can go forward. So we don't know if there'll actually be any warrants written out or whatever. The discussion I kind of wanted to bring up on there, though, is that model of a hardware OEM, a software OEM, having their own like app store is actually also similarly replicated on, for example, the Xbox, the PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch, as well as Android does the same thing with the Android Play Store. So you've got pretty much all of these like dedicated platforms like this also similarly do this kind of same model. And my opinion from you is, do you think that A, is that a monopoly, and B, do you think that that's something that should be like action should be taken against?
To a certain degree, it is a monopoly. Now, when you look at the market, and that the mobile market gets a little bit questionable on there, because one, you have two big players. You have Android and iPhone. Now, for the most part, if somebody's invested into one from early on, they're still going to continue investing into that one. They made their decision. They got comfortable with it. Even if they might like the other one better, they're familiar. They're going to stick with what's familiar. That's a common ground when people are presented with choices like that. Unless they go along with the split decision continuously or pop back and forth, they're likely to stick with one. Now, looking at the Android environment, for the most part, yes, there is the Google Play Store where everything is relegated to. Now, the Play Store has the Play Protect security system built into it, which is only so effective. There's still malicious apps that end up in the Play Store. There's malicious apps that end up on the Apple App Store occasionally too, but it's much rarer. They're a lot more aggressive and ferreting things out before it gets marketed. But the thing about Android is you do not have to heavily modify the software, slightly modify the software for your device to get apps by alternative means. However, you do not have that trustworthiness behind it of going through the official App Store. Now, the thing is Android actually has, to my knowledge, there is 3 available app stores for Android. There's Google Play, which is officially recognized by Google. It is produced, marketed, curated by Google. There is also the Amazon App Store, which is available on Android. So they have direct competition. There's also something that is entirely focused on FOSS, which is free and open source software, is called F-Stop, and is more or less, and is a very small store. It is a way to try and get you away from the big companies like Amazon or Google. If you made use of some apps from F-Stop. But yeah, the thing is Android actually has competitive stores on there, so it's a little bit closer to PC in that environment. Now, when you're dealing with consoles, that shit, yes, is very heavily locked down, and that's part of the their own self-interest to try and keep people in that walled garden. Now, Microsoft, since they're, so to speak, in the console war, they're a little bit on the losing end. Now, that is a very, very loaded term. They're losing the console war. That doesn't, but it's not even that much too. So they have a little bit more open area in the PC, console cross compatibility factor, whereas Sony tries to lock you into that as much as possible so they can reap the benefits of their, walled garden monopoly. Now, when Sony first started out, there was an alternative option, a bit extreme. You could actually sideload Linux onto the PS3. Not when they started out. No, it was kind of mid years, But you could sideload Linux on there, and of course, game and do whatever on there. It was very rough and crappy, but the option was there. Now that the option's not even there, you're locked into Sony's software and hardware if you choose to use their hardware.
Yeah, well, I completely spaced and did not realize. I've unfortunately not been outside of the official channels with Android in a while, so that was entirely on me. I totally did not.
Well, here's the thing: is I was looking at the marks earlier. I was thinking of that, and they've had incidences with their overcharging, but something that brought to light on that, and not even looking at alternative stores, the fact that you can, without modifying the software of your device, sideload apps. When Fortnite beta came available to Android, they were not putting it on the Play Store. They were, doing a third-party install on that, which Google's saying, well, we're not saying you can't, but you can't trust, third-party installs because we can't do a security check on that. More or less saying, well, these fuckers aren't paying us, so you're on your own. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as that goes, yeah, I guess that is, the one I forgot. And I mean, obviously, worst case scenario, if you don't like what's on Android, you can, of course, still flash your custom ROMs and stuff on there. So
that's the benefit of something that is based on an open source environment. Yes, Android itself, Linux or not Linux, Google has quite a bit of a control lever on that. But because it is based off the Linux kernel, it is open source based, and of course the AOSP, Android in its rawest form, is an open source software. It's everything else inside of it, and the final touches that Google puts on their specific devices or any other OEM that makes it less open source. But because it's rooted in open source, it gives people a lot more flexibility in the long term.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit, you're dropping frames again apparently.
I was trying to adjust that because I was noticing the warnings popping up. And as far as what I'm drinking, I don't know. It's a mysterious drink.
It's
I'm drinking Nuka-Cola, brought to you by Guinness juice. Backwards.
It's juice.
It's water, Water, sugar, and orange. If anybody gets that reference, let me know. Anyway,
Orange drink.
So I am trying to kind of adjust the stream settings. That's what I've been kind of doing over here, and while you hear the little clickings going on. See if
While you're zoning in and I'm rambling.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, your original issue on, you know, trying to open up closed source environments, that's going to be an interesting take on that. And I'm kind of wondering to see, because Microsoft is going with this, they're trying to open up their options. They're not necessarily saying, oh yeah, you can they want, but both in their console, less in their console environment, more in their PC environment, they're trying to open up the compatibility options as far as things go. So it may not surprise me if, say, the next generation of Xbox offers a Steam app on there, or an Origin app, or whoever else. They may or may not charge an overhead to make use of it. But, you know, it would be interesting to see something like that come to play. Make it it's still going to have the simplistic console format behind it, but have more of the options of PC. Now, I know damn well Sony is going to wait until the fucking feds come knocking on their door and say, hey, we passed laws, you can't do this shit no more.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. And the thing is the thing is that I think where the argument comes in, and this is where I kind of, I'm always a little weird on this one, right? Plain devil's advocate here. What a person could say as to why those stores are not a monopoly is because there are alternative products that are offered in that marketplace. For example, when you're dealing with consoles, oh, you don't want to deal with the Sony game store's monopoly? Well, you can buy an Xbox, and therefore it's not a monopoly. Same thing with, like, say, a cell phone. Say, you know, you don't like to deal with Apple's monopoly on their apps, you can always get an Android, and so on.
I have an instant counter to that, though. EU recently sued Google for their locking in their Play services to OEMs. You had multiple OEM options, but Google Play services was locked that Google ecosystem, or, you know, Google App Suite ecosystem. Now, here's the thing: is outside, you know, even looking outside those multiple OEMs, you just go into, hey, there's an iPhone over here, competition, but the EU didn't see it that way.
Well, especially in
so
Europe,
you may run into
iPhone's not really competition in Europe.
No, it isn't. But still, that's the thing: is like you look at it, both have very similar formats, uses, you know, and even if they don't have identical apps across the devices, they have similar apps. Sometimes you may have to pay for a similar or identical app on one service system versus another. But still, there's looking at there's another device argument. You have that with phones already and not see that. Mm-hmm. They went ahead with a fine against Google, and Google has changed their system up a little bit, like saying, well, if you do not want to have the full Google Suite systems in here, then you can pay us for Play services in the Play Store. You know, that was their answer to that. It's like it's half Play services, but you're going to pay us if you want to use just part of it.
That's not my drink over. Yeah, absolutely. And to Craig and you in the chat on there, yeah, no, Google does has extreme amount of influence in Europe, and yeah, unfortunately, because they're an American company, I think that might play into it. I can't really fault the EU on there because the Google is to the point of what I would call an unintentional monopoly, where they're not actually trying to get in on there. And holy shit, I think we have...
wow, Kev joined us only an hour late. Wow. What happened to 10 minutes, man? And we can't hear him.
Yeah, he's got...
You forgot to unmute Kev.
Yeah, he doesn't even have his mics on. Doesn't have his green screen set up. He ain't got nothing there.
I know. Shit. I walked back in the door and just jumped right in.
Hey, you kept the name match up. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but the cameras are all messed up, though. You know,
all kinds of messed up.
I can tilt mine. That's all right.
There we go. All right, so that's fixed up on there. So Kev, do you
Glorious.
think the Xbox and Sony game stores are a monopoly?
No.
No?
Well, yes, in a sense.
Just try and jump
They're,
in.
no,
happened?
they're a monopoly in the sense you're not going to get the digital deals, but you can go get physical copies, I guess, if you want to. But I don't know. I'm over physical copies and still
But
having to
the
download the
thing
game
is
anyway.
even those physical copies are
Just
restricted.
downloads.
I'm going.
They're the same. They're the same thing as they are on PC, where you get a disc,
Well,
except for minus the
here's the
code.
thing is-
It just downloads.
Well, when you make your argument of physical copies, take that physical copy. No,
Xaiphen,
you can only
cut out
use
so
it
much,
on.
bro.
I am, or you're just hearing me cut out.
You're cutting out a bit, but yeah, no. The thing is that the thing is that with physical copies, again, you don't have alternative options where you can buy a game for cheaper. For example, like in the sense of like GameStop versus Best Buy versus wherever store physical brick and mortar store you go, new game still gonna be $59.99. Right?
Usually, but oftentimes that's the case on PC too, unless you know where to look.
Exactly. But if you know where to look on PC, you don't have a place to look in for brick and mortar stores. Those are set by the publisher, so they don't have a choice.
I don't know. I don't know. There might be.
Well, I'm still contending the same argument of a device-specific physical copy is no different than a soft copy, because here's the thing: is can you take that physical copy and use it on a different system? You can't even use it on a different generation of system by the same manufacturer.
You used to be able
sometimes.
to. I used to be
yeah,
able to play
like
original
you could take an
Xbox.
Xbox 360 disc for the ones that are supported, and put them into your Xbox One, and it'll just play.
Oh, it does. Okay, because I know
for their backward compatible games, it truly works like a backward compatible title, with the exception of instead of it playing off disc, it does download.
Yeah, like so with the Xbox 360, there were original Xbox games I could throw on the 360 and they would play, like for example Morrowind. Was able to play Morrowind on the 360.
All the games on on the new console generation just run off the hard disk. They don't even run off the DVD.
Yeah,
like the DVD is just copyright protection at this point, or I should say the Blu-ray,
which is honestly,
but that still doesn't make an the monopoly factor. If you still have to use Microsoft software on whether it's a hard copy or soft copy, you can only use Microsoft-based software on a Microsoft device. Mm-hmm. And when I specific Microsoft OEM device, as in Xbox on Xbox, not even Xbox game on PC, unless you're hacking the shit out of that. But without modifications, as is, you cannot take an Xbox hard copy game and run it on a PlayStation or PC.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that I'm not necessarily. I have a different argument for not being able to take an Xbox game and play it on PlayStation. I don't know if that. I personally would prefer to see. I need to stop putting my hand up there because it keeps refocusing the camera. I am of the. I keep doing this, and then it outfocuses me, right? Because it's focusing on my hand. It's too good, too smart.
Not doing that. Mm-hmm.
So in any case, though, the thing is that while I would absolutely love to see an environment where the games are divorced from the hardware platforms, where I buy a game on a store on a PlayStation, and I can then take it and play it on an Xbox or on a PC or on whatever. Realistically, that will never happen. So
no.
Well, there's too much money in there.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna happen.
The exclusive market's just it's too much on there. But
it's like, and like I've always said, I understand why they exist, even if I'm not necessarily crazy about it.
Yeah. But in that regard, I do think that now this is the major question I want to pose to both of you guys. This was kind of what I was trying to stall for until Kev got back here. Is if the court settles with, or if Apple for some crazy reason, which they won't do, mind you, but if Apple were to take this lawsuit to court and lose, thus setting a precedent that Apple has a monopoly on their iPhone platform. Do you think that could potentially then echo over into other similar style environments like Xbox or like PlayStation?
I question, and maybe it's because I'm not sure which article you guys are on.
We're talking about the Apple antitrust one.
Okay, let me take a look real quick, because my thoughts and on concern kind of on that is I don't necessarily believe that iOS is a monopoly. I don't believe that Apple's Android system or any of that, or not Apple's Android, OS X and the Mac OS and all
Well,
that. I don't
you
believe
missed part
those
of our
monopolies.
conversation.
I did.
Yes. Well, let me fresh on.
Xaiphen keeps cutting out.
Went over.
Yeah, he's
Is it really that bad?
Yeah, it's starting to cut out a bit more. But
let's see if I crank up the gain, maybe. But at any rate, or it's just Kev's connection is throwing everything out of whack.
Yeah.
But what we were saying is like the console environment on that is okay. You have a competitive device. It's not a monopoly, or Xbox store is not a monopoly because you can just get a Sony and get stuff off of their store. Now, taking that to the smartphone environment, you can use that same answer because you have Android. Now, if somebody were suing Android Play Store, they don't have a monopoly because there's actually more than just the Play Store on Android. You have the Amazon App Store, plus there's F-Stop, which is free and open source, but it's focused on Apple. Apple has a lockdown on their app installation, unlike Android. You would have to physically modify, or not physically, but you'd have to modify the software to sideload things. So they have a lockdown on that, and if you were restricting to Apple devices, that is absolutely a monopoly on outside software, or curation of outside software, or distribution, not curation, distribution of outside software. I cannot get my shit straight, but they do have, effectively a monopoly on distribution of outside software through their devices. But if the court does not see the argument of just Android is as competition, if they look at Apple in its own isolation and they see that is a monopoly and it is a favor for the consumer, when here's something about the court system. Mort said precedent. That makes a big deal in court decisions. Now, that is if precedent is set and somebody chooses to go after a console over the same similar type of case, they have a very significantly higher chance of actually winning because precedent had been set in their favor.
Yeah, and essentially what it was is that someone is suing Apple because they're claiming like price fixing essentially on the Apple App Store. And can
we go after these RAM manufacturers for price fixing to them?
Well, no, essentially, like I said, the argument that they made was that that because they're charging a 30% uptick on the developers, it's causing an increase in prices of apps unjustly. And Apple's argument was, well, it's the developers that set the prices. We have nothing to do with that. And they tried to dismiss the case outright before it went anywhere, based upon that grounds that that person suing them needs to sue the developers for unjustly raising their prices, not Apple. And the court deemed that Apple was the one collecting the money for the apps. Then they give it to the developer. Ergo, Apple is the person that can be sued. And
so because you're directly paying Apple, even though they allow their developers to set their own prices, this then becomes Apple's fault.
Well, and the thing is that the argument against Apple is that because Apple is charging a 30%, which is a pretty big fucking chunk, but it's standard for a lot of the software distribution platforms that out there. I'm pretty certain that Microsoft, Sony, Origin, like EA Origin.
Yeah, I know Steam's cut is about 30%.
Yeah, well,
and I believe Xbox and PlayStation is about 30% too.
Steam's changing that.
Well, the 33% is kind of an industry standard. Yeah. That is potentially part of the problem, and that's something. If that changes, that may avoid the precedent setting in which this court case is looking at. It may or may not, because it depends on how they pass the judgment on. it is absolutely a monopoly the way they have the store set up. Then that leaves a lot more options in the consumer protection regard. However, if they just say Apple is forcing a monopoly by going with the industry standard 30%, then anybody who deviates from that, like Steam, the new thing from Steam that we'll probably be discussing shortly, that could avoid liability on the publisher side of things.
Yeah, and just a small comment. Steam recently announced revamping their rev share for their games, but it only really benefits the big guys. They're essentially trying to attract back the major publishers who've a lot of times taken their games off the platform, like Activision's
so
taking all
trying
their
to
games.
get Ubisoft and EA back type of shit, or even like Bethesda.
EA ain't coming back.
They're not getting EA.
No, I said they're trying to, or try to keep the ones they have.
No,
they're
exactly. That's it.
Ubisoft and Activision are the big two. Like, because obviously Call of Duty not being on Steam this past two or three Call of Duties.
This is the first one that hasn't been on Steam.
Oh, it's the first.
Black Ops 4.
Oh, okay. So that makes a lot more difference then. So they want to get that Call of Duty.
So
back.
Destiny isn't on Steam.
Yes, it's not.
Destiny was the first game where they said, "Let's try this." It worked for Destiny, and now they're doing it for Black Ops 4, and it seems to be going okay.
Because previously, only Blizzard games were on the Blizzard app, right?
Right, yeah, and then and now the only non-Blizzard games on the Blizzard app are COD and Destiny.
Yeah,
but that's something that's specific to the PC environment, where our distribution competition, whereas Destiny, Steam was saying you're going to pay this fixed price, whereas Blizzard said, "Hey, we'll charge you cheaper to host it." And
is it really charging?
No.
It's not cheaper to host it because it's
wait, or did I get my companies wrong?
Yeah, no. The Blizzard app is owned by Activision Blizzard. Destiny's
so they're just keeping it in-house like EA and Ubisoft.
Exactly.
That was my confusion on there. My bad.
Yeah.
Or even like Bethesda, how Bethesda's doing it.
Exactly. That was the Fallout 76 was launched on.
And I swear the only reason Bethesda's doing that is because they knew how fucked up 76 was.
They control the refunds, right?
Exactly. Because they didn't want to have Arkham Knight situation.
Who was it? Who was it in chat that said they got their refund denied? I think I saw earlier on that.
Everybody got their refund denied. Opening on the chat here.
Yeah, it was like, it was Castork there. Yeah, so he said he got his refund denied, and I'm like, so if you guys haven't seen, I don't have to link for it. I liked it, so it's in my Twitter feed. I don't tweet that much, so you can probably find it pretty easily on there. There's a tweet a while back from me liking a video from Leonard French, who's a copyright attorney, to be fair, but he did post up a video where he was discussing the avenues a person might take if they wanted to seek legal recourse against Bethesda for denying them a refund. So there is actually in the terms of service that Bethesda does. So they actually set things up where you have as long as he puts it, you have a meritorious case, which more or less means you're not frivolously just trying to pull one over on old Bethesda. As long as you were legitimately bought Fallout 76, you tried it, it sucked, and you tried to get a refund, you went through their official channels to get one, and they said no. In their terms of service, you can't sue them or take a class action against them because you agreed to that terms of service. However, you can mail a letter to their corporate offices, their legal department or whatever, stating that you decline the terms of service, and that then you have to send another letter. Like, this is old school legal shit here, because they want to try to make it as painful as possible for people, so
of course
people don't do it. But then you mail another letter saying that I want a refund for this game here, etc., that sort of thing. That second letter, they then have 45 days to respond. And if they decline to offer you the refund or the whatever recompense that you want for the game, say you bought the $200 thing, and you just wanted a nylon bag, and you just wanted your fucking canvas bag, and you send them a letter and say, "I just want my fucking canvas bag, you sons of bitches." they would have 45 days to give you your recompense. At that point, it goes to arbitration. In that arbitration, then in the terms of service, Bethesda pays for the arbitration. They don't pay for your legal counsel, but they do pay for the actual arbitration session, which is about $950 just for the first session. So it behooves...
We got into the wrong business, man.
It behooves...
Yeah.
It behooves Bethesda to just, if you want a refund, just give you your fucking $60 when you send that letter, or give you your damn canvas bag when you send that letter, because otherwise then they're $950 out of pocket as opposed to $30 or $60 for just, giving you a damn refund. Now, and like I said, I would look for that Leonard French video where he actually kind of outlines what their terms of service say. It's very well done. It's very clear. It's not in any way to be seen as legal counsel, specialized legal counsel or anything like that. He is just doing it for, just giving people general tips. And I like to clarify that because that in no way is legal counsel. He's a lawyer. He's smart. He knows that shit. So, and he even disclaims at the beginning saying,
"What? You don't want to unofficially represent a company like that?"
Well, the thing is that
represent the angry gamers.
He is a copyright attorney, and he actually a lot of times is defending against copyright trolls, is what he's doing with, which gives me, that's why I started watching him. That aside, just to finish off, to clarify what the Steam bit was. Come on, focus back. Was that, I guess I'm just out of focus, guys. Whoa. Was that Steam will be charging smaller revenue shares for games that get higher sales. So if you get over $10 million in sales on a game, then you get a 20% revenue share. In other words, Steam you get an 80% revenue share. If you sell over like 20 or whatever $1 million, then you get a 10%.
Basically, we're gonna cut that down or cut your license fee down because you're selling so many copies.
Exactly.
We're gonna be a little kickback.
And
I don't think it's bad in and of itself. I think that's just incentives to sell on Steam.
Exactly. But now, because we are kind of getting to the 45-minute mark on there, we have to get down to the elephant in the room. Fallout 76. I mean, we've
tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
We've come back to Fallout 76. We kind of mentioned it briefly at the beginning, but we also kind of are coming back to it full stop here. So to lay out the story on here, and this has been quite the story as it's been developing on here. So obviously Fallout 76 did not come out as intended. It was a pretty garbage game to begin with. And I have to reference my notes because I will get this shit confused if I don't reference notes on here.
This is going to be pretty much a preview to year's greatest blunders.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm thinking, which is the biggest blunder of the year? If you don't like it, don't buy it. Doesn't everyone have a phone? Or just Fallout 76 in general?
I shared that meme. I don't know if everybody caught the meme that I shared.
What about where's my dad? Where's my son? Where's my refund?
No, that was a good one too. No, it was the one. It was from. It was a scene from the new Netflix show movie that I haven't seen, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, where essentially these guys tried to hang this character at one point in the trailer you saw, and somehow it didn't work. And then later on, he's on a gallows. They tried to hang him from a tree the first time. Second time, he's on an official gallows in the middle of town with a bunch of other guys next to him. And he looks at him. He's like, "Is this your first time, guys?" And everybody just looks at him like, "The fuck are you talking about?" Like they're on the gallows. And so there's a meme of that now. And then essentially they have like Blizzard, Bethesda, and Valve sitting there as the other guys that are strung up getting ready to hang. And EA looks over at him and it's like, "First time?" And I'm like, yeah, EA knows all about this spot, and this is new for Valve and EA, or for Valve, Blizzard, and Bethesda. 3 companies, mind you, that thus far are the 3 companies that I have been saying for a while, like people will like ignore a lot of bullshit from, because they built up a lot of
Bethesda.
goodwill.
Trust.
Yeah, Bethesda, Blizzard, and Valve. Like Valve was pulling a bunch of bullshit like last year, and I was
People will pull Valve's card though.
huh?
People will pull Valve's card, not as hard as they would say like EA.
No, people would like you get one or two people that would, oh god damn you Valve, but the majority of people would just be like, hey, whatever, nobody cares.
Yeah,
Majority of people praise Gaben.
Yeah, praise Gaben.
It's kind of like you get that with a lot of pro Sony guys too.
Yeah,
you tell them Sony did anything bad, and you're just a hater.
But that's more of a in the large scheme of things. Like
I don't see Bethesda or Blizzard or Bethesda fanboys any worse than Xbox fanboys.
The problem is that there are a lot more Blizzard like people that are either ambivalent or good-natured towards Blizzard, Bethesda, and Valve than there are ambivalent or good-natured towards Sony or towards Microsoft or towards whatever. Those are, you have smaller, I would say with Sony and with Sony in general, actually, I'll kind of like just generalize that. It tends to be more concentrated. Instead of being ambivalent or good-natured, there's a lot more good-natured, less ambivalent. Whereas those other three guys have a large segment of their fan base that are just ambivalent to the stuff they do, and a small portion that are good-natured. But the thing is that I would hear like Blizzard or Valve doing some heinous ass shit, and largely everybody was just like, whatever. Whereas, Sony would pull some bullshit, and there would be a group of people would be like, oh, Sony's pulling bullshit. And then a small group of people saying, they're not doing anything bad. I don't know if that makes sense.
I believe that until I went to the internet. I truly believe that PlayStation fanboys are some of the worst.
They can be.
Yeah, I believe at times they are probably the worst of all of the video game fanboys are the PlayStation fanboys.
Kev, don't you have a PlayStation?
Actually, I don't.
Who doesn't Who doesn't have a PlayStation? You guys all have PlayStations.
You?
Not anymore.
Actually, I don't as of yesterday. My Switch and my PlayStation are gone.
Listen, guys. You guys all have phones, right?
No, my phone's gone too.
Anyway,
PlayStation.
So I was supposed to be talking about Bethesda here, and I get distracted. It's too
I
good.
lost the joke. It went.
Yeah, that was where I was supposed to be. You guys all have phones, right? Who doesn't have a phone? Anyway, but the thing is, though, going on Bethesda's fuckery on there, Fallout 76 just came out, got bashed. Everybody, like, it largely was panned critically. Like, people are saying it's garbage.
And what's funny is, I wanted to give some of the best, Shadow of the Doubt to Bethesda. I was actually excited to play the game, but I was cautiously optimistic. Like, I wanted that. That's why I didn't buy it.
It's garbage in beta.
Everybody was saying that, but I was like, when I saw the first gameplay, I'm like, I see potential here. I'm not mad about the NPCs, but I want to see more. And as I waited to see more, I just saw the clusterfuck that came. Okay. We ain't playing this. We just gonna sit here and ride. Oh, I'm not damage controlling at all. I'm telling you now, the game is shit.
No,
I damage controlling a not damn thing.
No, the thing that was after that then there was the whole debacle after the game came out and it was shit, and
now we're talking about bags.
Well, no, that's
before, the right bag.
Before we even got that, then the news broke that they were denying refunds to people. Like at first, they contacted them and says, "Yes, we're working on processing your refund. We'll get back to you shortly." And then they came out later on and said, "Nah, sorry, go fuck yourself."
Fuck that shit.
And then there was the power armor thing of like everybody getting the nylon bag when they were promised a canvas bag, which is I see the difference in quality. It sounds really. Like when I heard this, I was like, okay, this is some pedantic shit. But I was like, okay, I can understand. The thing is when you're ordering those special editions, the $200 edition, you want the swag. You want that to be the best quality it can, because you're not going to, someone's going to be using that for an actual travel bag somewhere, but possibly it's going to just sit in an office on a shelf, on display.
I'd use it as an actual travel bag.
There you go. Well,
I would.
The point is, that's fine. The point is that they were promised the canvas bag. which is much higher quality. They got some cheap ass vinyl or whatever. That's fine. Then
no, that's not fine. Because I'm gonna clarify too. I would have used a canvas bag as a travel bag.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Nylon. Nylon's dog shit.
But wait, there's more. Because after that, they said, we're really sorry, guys. We're not going to do it. At first, they were like, yeah, we ain't going to do shit about it. They straight up told people, yeah, we switched it because we didn't either. I can't remember if they said it was too expensive or they ran out of stock, whatever. But they just pretty much straight told people, yeah, we ain't going to do shit about it. And
they gave it to the shills.
Well, no, hold on. That's next step. Then they said, oh, you know what? We're going to give you $5 of in-game credit. Not and $5.
They said 500 atoms to make it look good.
Yeah, that's $5. That's $5.
But they said 500. They said 500 in-game credit to make it look good.
And the thing is that someone actually looked up in the actual microtransaction store in Fallout 76 what that buys. It buys like an old crappy door, like an ye old barn door or some shit like that.
It buys you a vinyl bag.
What you talking about? The vinyl bag is at least 700 credits.
No, yeah, oh yeah, you know what? That's right. Yeah, it's 700 atoms for the canvas. For the canvas bag, that's 1500 atoms. For the canvas bag, that's 700.
I think you missed one of those zeros in the canvas.
Right.
There was an extra zero there.
But no, in any case though, then the news came out most recently that they were giving the influencers the canvas bag before launch, which, may have possibly contributed to why people weren't getting it after launch. Good God, Bethesda just could not stop shooting themselves in the face. It was like, hey, I'm going to shoot myself. Usually that would kill me, but, I'm just going to unload the rest of the magazine to be sure.
At this point, it wasn't even shooting themselves in the face. This was some Cheddar Bob shit. Right in the dick.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like, it went, I think they tried to turn it into.
Hey, we lost Xaiphen again.
Yeah.
What?
You're breaking up again.
Oh shit! I think I'm gonna say it's my internet connection. I cranked my gain up pretty high, but I think they were looking at other companies like, oh, I see you shot your covered. Like, I'm gonna take that up a notch and shoot myself in the face over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, something I noticed really quickly on there was that they seem to just not be doing good at handling the PR for this. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Like, Bethesda's hold my beer. It's like, and they saw Battlefront 2. They saw, fucking like, y'all have phones, right? And they were like, hold my beer.
Well, we got this. I stand by my statement on Twitter that in the new Lion King movie, they should have casted Pete Hines to be Mufasa.
Why Mufasa?
Because Todd Howard's the star of the show, so he needs to be Simba.
Yeah.
They both the Lion King. They lying their asses off.
Golf clap.
Yes.
Golf clap.
And you got to realize
where that was going.
You got 3 dad joke age. Like everybody's the age for dad jokes here. So
yes.
But no. So the thing is that I guess this is the moment for PSA. Our PSA for this stream is stop fucking pre-ordering games. I don't care who's making it. I don't care who's making it. I don't care if you are going to buy it anyway. Don't pre-order it.
Don't pre-order any software. Do not pre-order anything that has an unlimited.
Don't pre-order anything, period.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Game consoles launch Monday too. Let's remember what happened with the NVIDIA RTX series. The 2080 Ti setting some on fires.
What are you talking
They're
about? They're
recalling these motherfuckers.
This is the new fucking AMD. I love it.
I agree with that as a personal sentiment. I don't want to pre-order anything ever, but in the case of hardware where there's limited quantities, truly limited quantities, pre-ordering can assure your foot in the door if you have to have it. However, software, there's no limited quantity.
Have to have
it does not matter.
Well,
it does not matter on software.
Yeah, the
But
thing
let's be
is,
real though. Let's go back to what I was talking about, the 2080 Ti. Nobody really needed a 2080 Ti. Like I'm
No.
talking like if
No,
you
no.
like
When
if
I
you're like
when
on a
I say have to have it,
if you're
I
like on a
don't.
680, 670,
Can
yeah, you might need to upgrade. I get it. But let's be real, people are upgrading from like 970s.
so wait, hold on. Can we take a
I
step
know
back?
somebody still playing on a 660 just fine. You don't need it. You don't need it.
The thing is, hey guys, let's take a step back. Let's not just throw NVIDIA under the bus here, because let's talk about that i7 9900X, where they had the in the test
Vegas launch this year. I mean, last year.
Well, no,
This year.
they essentially were manipulating the benchmark results and the essentially the CPU, like that normal level of CPU runs, I think it's 125 watts, and they had it like the board makers were throttling it like through the actual chipset, throttling it to like I think it was 75 watts or something like that, because it kept overheating. So I'm like, holy shit, this year has turned NVIDIA and Intel into AMD.
Never go AMD.
I've been
turn into AMD.
Never go
I've
full
been seeing
AMD.
a lot of Shintel.
Yeah.
I don't know. At this point, I don't want to go. See, you have to understand, and NVIDIA is on my shit list. I'm not too mad at Intel right now. Intel's on their bullshit, but I'm going AMD in my next upgrade. That's just about how this is going.
Go Vega.
I was waiting for Vega, and they took too long.
Hashtag
You remember, I kept
everybody.
telling y'all to wait for Vega, and they took too long. I needed some shit, and I went Intel again.
I mean,
No,
I have
I
no
waited
real
for
complaints about
You're
that.
right, I was waiting, or not waiting. I was saying wait for Ryzen. You remember that? I was praising wait for
Hashtag
Ryzen.
wait for Ryzen. Oh my god, that was the biggest joke.
That was me all
Wait
day.
for-
And they
wait
just
for
took too
Zen.
long.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that's the thing is
everybody.
like when I got my CPU, Ryzen wasn't even a dream yet. It wasn't even being called Zen at that point in time.
It wasn't even a twinkle in the father's eye.
That's the thing is like I'm running a 4790. That's what I got. Ryzen didn't exist.
The thing is that
There was no waiting for Ryzen.
Well, in any case, though, my main thing is that what I tell people is like your limited edition swag, for example, like a $200 Power Armor edition of Fallout 76 with a nice canvas bag. I can understand people pre-ordering that guy because those are usually made in limited quantity to give them some kind of value of some sort. I can get that, especially if you're a big fan of whatever the series is and you want to have that physical swag. I get that. I'm really reticent. Even in that case, this has shown me that even those physical special editions, you better have an avenue to refund things. And since the government,
why are we spending $200 on Power Armor helmets that probably cost less than $5 to make?
I know you don't cost $5. I would say the probably cost of manufacture of that guy was probably maybe $20-$25.
And then they charge you $200 for it.
Well, it's supposed to be.
And that's because they outsourced it to Chinese child labor.
The art book.
That's why I thought it was only $5.
Yeah, no. That's they had a full
that's
package
kind
of stuff
a little bit. That's hit some inflation due to tariffing issues.
Yeah, right. So the thing is when you get the helmet on there, and you get the canvas bag, canvas bag, and then like there's a hard art book in there, all that stuff. The probably total cost of the whole package, $60 for the game, right? Total cost for the package is probably maybe $100, maybe $125. So obviously, yes, they're making their profit. I mean, if we want to talk about just pure cost of manufacture on there, I should say the pure cost of R&D and manufacture of the video game itself, then that cost probably drops maybe down a bit because the game probably only costs maybe per unit maybe $30 when you account for R&D as in the development of the game per unit. And the actual manufacture of the physical disc itself, maybe $30.
Yeah, there's no real R&D. They just stuck their D in it, and that's it.
Well, who are they sticking their D in? That's the question.
There's no
Everybody
research
that bought the
done.
game, that's who.
They got the D, and then that was it.
Yeah. So
I mean, at this point, everybody got tired of getting Todd Howard's D and Bethesda's D, and we're tired of EA's D. They need to keep their D in their pants. They're trying to Bill Cosby all of us.
It's gonna get worse. Just wait for Starfield. Starfield is just gonna
Keep
be
your
literally.
pudding pops to yourself.
It's just going to be a sci-fi themed slot machine with Wilson loot boxes, just like FIFA, FIFA Ultimate Team. Don't worry, Bethesda's got you, man. They got you. They know you guys love the loot boxes.
At that point, they get sued by.
Yeah, they could get sued by EA for.
Well, no. Oh, who is it? You said sci-fi themed loot box, not Cryptic. One Star Trek.
Yeah, it's that was Cryptic / Perfect World.
Perfect World. Cryptic's the developer. Perfect World. They get sued by. But still, their subsidiaries do suing anyway. So they get sued by Perfect World because in Star Trek Online they've already got the sci-fi themed
gambling simulator. Yeah,
with the Dabo tables and shit like that.
Well, no, they also have loot boxes, and then
they have loot boxes, but the actual sci-fi themed in-game gambling, that makes a more of a physical presence in the game.
Wait, can you actually spend real money on the Dabo tables?
I never got that far into trying to find out, but here's the thing: it's Perfect World, so the answer is highly probably.
I can't even. That's too much.
That's the thing. There's the Dabo gambling shit in there, and there's some uncommon resource used to. I'm gonna say it's probably the themed currency of Star Trek. The gold press platinum? That's it. Which probably you can spend real world money into buying that to gamble in the game.
Why they always say loot boxes have no real world value, but they cost real world money?
Hold on. Stop. Gambling is risking something of value, not inherently money, on the random chance of getting something you value. You do not.
Oh yeah, but they don't want to. They're saying it's not gambling too.
I know, but
that's where it gets fun.
It's not you guys, but I've been hearing everybody say, "Oh, it's not gambling because you're not spending money." And I'm sure even Young and other people saying that whole thing. You don't have to spend money for it to be gambling. It is simply you put up something of risk that is valuable to you. That could be time. That could be
marriage.
Yeah, marriage, whatever. The thing is that you just have to simply put up something of risk that you value for the random chance to get something else that you value. So
I don't think you understand. I was saying marriage is gambling too.
I know. And I totally got that, and I just rolled with it. The thing is that is legal definition. I have the damn US legal definition. I saved it because I got tired of having to correct all these guys that are like, oh no, this isn't gambling because you don't spend money on it. And I'm like, but that's not what that means.
That's not true. They spend mommy and daddy's money all day.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
The actual legal definition of gambling, and I quote, is a person engages in gambling if he stakes or risks something of value upon the outcome of a contest of chance or a future contingent event not under his control or influence, upon an agreement or understanding that he or someone else will receive something of value in the event of a certain outcome. That is so legal, you can't fucking make that shit up. It's by the way, that's from US Legal. I think it's uslegal.com, I think is what it is.
Somebody will damage control it later, just wait.
Yeah, but the thing is that
somebody will damage
loot boxes are gambling.
Loot box!
ESA, ESRB, EA, you all can fucking try to say it's not gambling. It is gambling.
The thing is, you don't even need to go into loot boxes are obvious, but something less obvious. Grind frame. Grinding for, spending time
Yep.
into, a random chance of collecting shit.
Yeah, that is
That is gambling too.
When you're rolling like the fissure missions in Warframe or whatever, where you don't
Yeah,
know
when
that
you're trying to collect the prime loot, all loot is actually random pickup, but the low random chance.
I mean, like the quests where you get guaranteed items, like you'll guaranteed get the part for this Warframe or whatever. That's not gambling, but majority of the missions out there are a random like bounties in the new systems.
Those are opening quests where you get it's part of the, but there's no grind in there. There's no play. There's play over on it. Once you play through that quest, it's done deal.
Yeah.
If you sell, and there's been issues where people have accidentally sold off that specific part, and they've mostly patched it out where the items like that are locked out of being able to sell off, but they've accidentally sold off those parts and they can't get them back because there's no replay, there's no grind to picking those up. But everything else that you grind for in that game, it's even if the chance is extremely high, like you play it once, you're gonna get it that high of a chance. It's still a random chance effect.
Yeah, and there are loot boxes in Warframe. They're hidden and nobody really buys them. And
loot box!
And I've thrown DE under the bus and said, hey, y'all should just fucking take these out. You ain't getting money off of these. That's why they haven't changed since forever. You should just get rid of them. It makes you look better. It's good PR for you. But they still haven't. I have other issues. But in any case, though, yeah, loot boxes are gambling.
My links. Loot box.
Good. Clear his links. Let's ban him from chat again, just like last week.
It's okay. I shared the meme with you guys in the Discord chat. I thought it'd be fair to share it with the audience too.
That's true.
It's shitting on Bethesda. It's not promoting my shit.
Yeah. And obviously the I'm looking for my father. I'm looking for my son. I'm looking for my refund. That's also a great Fallout meme. But in any case, as we because we are, oh hell yeah, dude, we actually got that. We cooked through that without Kev here to Babylon. We actually cooked through those topics pretty quick.
Well, there's only the two of us discussing. It's a start.
Y'all talking about me, but I'm usually the clock watcher.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that Kev, we didn't have Kev here to damage control all the stuff about the FTC investigating loot boxes, and
I have no problems with them investigating loot box.
Kev just wants more loot boxes. That's really the truth of it is. So in any case,
I heard you like loot boxes.
Kev, just to bring it back around, since you weren't here,
I'm certain that you think I like loot boxes.
Yeah, I think you do.
Nobody likes booty boxes.
I want to hear your thoughts on Jason Schreier.
I don't know if I have any real thoughts on Jason Schreier. He's kind of shit. I like that he's one of the few investigative journalists still left in the games industry, and he does a good job there. But he's kind of a shitty person. The more I see of him, the more I'm like, stop telling us how you feel and just keep making articles. It was great when he went after the whole Dead Cell situation, and the dude who said, "Oh yeah, I haven't stolen anybody else's reviews," and then he went and uncovered that. I love that shit.
Well, it wasn't just him; it was other people.
Yeah. But I'm saying Jason Schreier was doing it too, and I'm saying I loved when he started helping uncover shit. That was great.
Yeah, and the Andromeda piece too. The Andromeda development hell piece too was great.
I didn't read that article, but I don't like it. I don't like the way he was shitting on gamers after the whole Bethesda thing.
As I put it, and that's what we were talking about. Is we were talking about the article that he wrote that he was more or less saying he called Young, a YouTube provocateur and shit like that.
You could tell, you kind of tell, like looking at him, like I don't think he thinks much of YouTubers, and I don't like that. It feels like the games industry. I was watching. I'm a fan of Colin Moriarty's Sacred Symbols podcast, and this is I think I heard it at where he was saying, what was it? That if he feels like games industry folks really don't think very highly of YouTubers. And I think it's funny because I feel like a lot of these YouTubers are doing a better job at what these corporate entities are trying to do for less.
Certain respect.
So a lot, I think, like some of them are. So some of them aren't. You do have a lot of fanboys, But I think the ones that do a really good job, I'm going to use Young Ye right there. I think Review Tech does a decent job. You get guys that are more so like that are like, yeah, we're going to put you out of business just because we do it better than you do.
Well, the thing is that to be clear, and I said this before, the majority of I think it's pretty disingenuous of like Jason to like look down upon YouTubers, like especially news commentators like Young, because the majority of the articles published by Kotaku are the same thing. They're just news commentary. There's no investigation. They are just sharing a press release from some company and adding their opinions, or they're just writing their opinions about something they hear about on the internet. And what they hear about may or may not even be fucking true, for that matter. They just heard it on the internet, and then they just start spouting off their thoughts on it and write an article about it. That's why I call them glorified bloggers. Now, Jason Schreier, for the most part, I noticed that he typically does a pretty good job on his investigative pieces. He's about the closest thing that the games industry has to an actual fucking journalist. But sadly, I don't like. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But the thing is that he is, he still very much looks down upon YouTubers and sees them somehow as being inferior. Very much I don't know if you got a chance to actually watch that podcast that he was on with Young. Yeah. And
I heard about it, but I didn't watch it.
He was just talking down to Young the whole time. Like, you could tell he came on that podcast not to break bread and kind of everybody get their thoughts and their feelings out and have some mutual respect. He came on there to make proclamations and teach the youngins something. Like,
he came out there to put his middle finger out there.
No, he came out there to lay his dick on the table is what it is. But
it was kind of short, so I don't see the point.
No, neither did anyone else.
But no, the thing is that he came out there to more or less tell Young how Young was wrong and how Jason's right and Jason knows better and Jason's a better person than Young. That was the feeling that I got the whole time. He spent the most of the time just taking up the airspace, and he would he would do a lot of debate tactics that I would see as questionable, where he would say, like, whenever you start a question with, you would have to agree this, and then whenever the person doesn't necessarily agree with the point, like, for example, he would say, you would have to agree that cigarettes don't cause cancer, and you'd be like, no, and then you would like, well, there might be some cigarettes that don't cause cancer, and you'd be like, maybe, I guess. Like, yeah, so cigarettes don't cause cancer. That's a debate tactic that politicians use, that Jason was using in that podcast. He did that. He said, you would have to agree that this is the best time in gaming history right now. We're getting the best games out there. And Young was like, I mean, there's some good games out. And he's like, yeah, there's great games out right now. So you'd have to agree that, like, essentially cornering him.
But this isn't I don't know if I'd say this is the greatest console generation.
I would not.
I think the PS1 generation was the greatest console generation.
I would say either that generation, like that late 90s, or I would say there was a lot of good stuff happening in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s.
PS3 and 360, I'd agree. Those were great generations. I think the NES had a great generation. I think even the Genesis had a great. I don't think this generation of games is bad. I just think there's a lot of bad business practices. There's a lot of follow the leader, a lot of copy and paste.
And I agree with that. And that's a point that he trying to say that, oh, the graphical fidelity is better and all this stuff, and we have these really cool games that are out now, and therefore gaming is fine and we don't need to mess with it. That was kind of the underlying. That was the underlying implication that gaming's fine and we don't need to fuck with it. And essentially, he was trying to blame a lot of the ills of the gaming industry on consumer rage, and like saying gamer rage is the problem, and essentially saying the Young, who by the way is a very even-tempered person and rarely even raises his fucking voice up a little bit. He usually deadpans, like the story, and then gives some like thoughts and tries to be very diplomatic. But he essentially, Jason was trying to paint Young as this rabble rouser, this demagogue who is getting the gamers riled up into a frenzy and creating all this rage and saying that Young has a responsibility to, you know, be more diplomatic whenever he's making videos about this stuff. And I'm like,
I've never seen Young E not be diplomatic.
yeah, he is all the time. And the thing is that what essentially he was trying to say is that you know, you need to stop, you know, like saying bad shit about the games industry. And a lot of people are trying to like point out, like saying, you don't want people to call you a shill, yet you're trying to sit there and tell someone not to throw these guys under the bus whenever they're pulling some bullshit. What the fuck are you doing, man?
Strawberry.
Being a shell.
Anyway,
That's it.
Paid show.
yeah. So, well, the thing is that he's not a shill. Obviously, his body of work, Jason's body of works, very much paints him as not a shill.
Oh no, I think
Yes.
there was something in his contract. You have to show with the rest of us, or you're fired.
Yeah,
Because he just flipped the switch one day.
no. The thing is that he still he still like does investigative pieces. That's never stopped. The thing is, all I think it is that he views like essentially, and he actually said, I can't remember, it wasn't petulant, but it was some other word where he was essentially calling the gamer that asked the guy from Blizzard.
Oh, the one is this a bad April Fool's joke?
Yeah, is this an off-season April Fool's joke? He called, I don't know if he called him petulant, but he called him some word similar to that.
Right. Basically, he thought the guy was just a rebel rouser. He was causing trouble.
Well, no, petulant as in child, a petulant child. Essentially, Jason.
It's like you're a whiny brat.
Yeah, essentially, he was calling the guy a whiny, entitled brat. And I'm like,
but he was saying what everybody else in the crowd was already thinking.
Exactly. The thing is that where I feel like Jason misses the point, and this is kind of why I guess the ranting I wanted to get on this story that I missed last time, is that I feel like Jason misses the reason why gamers are angry. He sees great games, and he doesn't pay attention to EA's shit. So he just ignores EA at this point. So he willfully ignores major negative pieces about the games industry, and therefore other people don't have a right to talk about it or be angry about it.
And that's part of the problem. Like, if you ignore the problem, or if you're somebody that doesn't follow mainstream gaming news. Like, for example, I didn't follow a lot of mainstream games news during the PS2 generation. I was busy. I was fresh out of high school. I was in college, girlfriend. I played my games when I could. I was hanging out with my friends. I'm 19, 20 years old. I wasn't following major game shit. I was busy. So I didn't complain now. And to my knowledge, there really wasn't really a lot to complain about back then anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I just in particular think that this generation, there's just a lot of things where you're like, why are you doing this? Like, why is half a Star Wars Battlefront, or at least I say was, because that game is beautiful now, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Why is half of that game at launch locked behind a paywall? Like, the game's beautiful now. The game's amazing now.
Because they ripped out the loot boxes, and
they ripped out the loot boxes, but they left the grind at first. They completely overhauled that. All of the DLC is free now. It's one of probably the most consumer friendly game on the market right now.
Yeah, but it took a huge fucking backlash for that to happen.
It did, and I'm glad that happened.
There's one other game that might contest that. Shadow of War.
I don't know how bad the grind is of Shadow of War. I haven't played it much since the loot boxes caused me to put it down a little bit.
They did the same thing.
I know they did the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know how good their overhaul was.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars is really good. Like, I was playing Star Wars. I think last time I played was like 2-3 weeks ago, and it's actually really good. I pick it up and play it every so often. I caught it on stuff for like $20 after they fixed it. But I don't know how Shadow of War is. I'm gonna go back to Shadow of War and actually finish it, because I've heard it's actually really good now.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that and where a lot of times, like the ESA statements, and I'm just kind of looping in the stories that we've already talked about multiple times. The ESA making the statement of like loot boxes just enhance the experience and they're optional.
What would enhance the experience? I'm okay with the idea if you really want to pay for a shortcut. And if you want to buy a game and then pay not to play it, whatever, do you. What my
This
beef is, though, is when they try to make the game grindier so that way the people that don't want to pay for it have a worse experience.
Here's the thing,
Don't
and,
screw.
and this is what I love about Jim Sterling. Jim Sterling gave this major point that as one of the talking points for people to argue against that. Like, I'm okay with having shortcuts. By having an in-game shortcut that you can buy, that is telling consumers, and this is what you had to do in order to have a shortcut. That means there are large portions of the game that you as the developer feel like are shit and are able to be skipped.
I feel that would be the case in a single player game. What I'm talking
Well,
about is, like,
there's
for
two
example,
catches behind it.
let me finish. What
Yeah,
I'm
go
saying
ahead.
for a good example is Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 had shortcuts you could get to buy all of the games for a particular class. So say you're coming into the game a year later and you just want to, I don't want to grind to get all of these guns and get my ass kicked, because you come into a multiplayer shooter months after it comes out, you're going to get your ass kicked while you get a few guns and a few attachments to get caught up. If you just want to buy all the guns outright, say you just like playing assault, spend $20, get all your guns, I don't care. And then you can play for as long as you want to, and just have the guns you want. I don't care about that. Now, if we're saying, or maybe even double XP so you can grind to get your gun, that's kind of a competitive advantage. I don't know if I like that one, especially not at launch. But if you really just want to, I don't know, like, how do I put it? Like, if you really want to pay to skip just having to unlock the guns, I don't care. I probably already have those guns. If you're just doing it just to try to get on point with the rest of us in a multiplayer game, that doesn't bother me.
My thing is that so I've been pretty clear of, like, I personally am loot boxes as a overall concept. I personally don't much give a shit that they exist. I don't mind if they exist. I tend to prefer that they are cosmetic only, not actual gameplay affecting. Like Overwatch, I think is fine, whatever. I prefer direct buy. If there's an option, I always prefer direct buy, like the way Warframe does it with the majority of their skins. Just let me buy whatever the fuck I want and don't make me jump through fucking hoops. But
see, and my problem even with the loot box situation there
mm-hmm.
is the gambling addiction, or the person's like, I just want. I remember they had that Winston Yeti armor or skin in Overwatch, and if you don't get it, how many people are just going to keep opening loot boxes until they get it?
Yep. And the thing is
that's where my problem comes in with loot boxes.
This is what most people don't realize about operant conditioning, which is what all of these loot boxes are geared to do, is that you don't get the dopamine hit from winning what you want. You get the dopamine hit from opening the loot box before you ever get a reward.
Okay, it's that rush. It's that, oh shit, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? I'm excited.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you win or lose. The actual outcome is irrelevant. It's the actual act. There was a study, and I'm trying to remember what it was about, but this has been a long time ago. But there was a study where essentially a guy had some rats, and he was doing some experiments on a rat, and essentially rat walks up and presses on a plate and gets a pellet of food. And they first start off, every time he presses on that plate, he gets a pellet of food. Then after a while, maybe every other press gets a pellet of food. Now, the test that they did was that they had fixed interval, rewards, where essentially every 5 presses, he gets a reward. Every 10 presses, he gets a reward. And they found out that when they did fixed interval rewards, the rat would press on the plate like a certain amount of time over. Like he might try 50 times, like to press over it and not get a reward, and then give up. But then the other side they did randomized interval rewards, where essentially, this time it was 3 hits to get your pellet. This time it was 5. This time it was 2. This time it was 7. This time it gave you on the first one, etc. And it was all randomized. And whenever they turned off the reward, the pellet on that one, the rat pressed the button more than 1,000 times trying to get the reward on that one. Operant conditioning. It is fucking dangerous shit. It is the way that you can turn somebody into your literal fucking tool and make them do exactly what you want.
So essentially, that's how they make us your bitch.
Yeah, and the thing is that these are practices used to a lesser extent in things like neurolinguistic programming, and all like con artists use traits from this. It gets used any way that someone is trying to mentally manipulate and break someone's resistance to saying no. So, but the major thing is that they realized in doing this test that the reward, the dopamine reward, was released when the rat pressed the button, not when the rat got the pellet. That's how they kind of figured out that, like, say, for the loot boxes in Overwatch, I get the reward whenever I see that loot box explode and the coins go up in the air. I don't even know what the fuck I'm getting. Just that explosion is where get that dopamine hit. And I just want another one. I want another one. And of course, the way that they give you the free ones, you'll notice, of course, is it starts off at level 1, level 2, level 3. You get them pretty quick, right? But then it starts to slow down, right? You get less and less and less, and it takes you slower to get to 5 to 6 to 7. Every level you go up, it's slower and slower and slower. You know who else does shit like that? Fucking drug
Slot
dealers.
machines.
Drug dealers. That's how they that's how they get you addicted. They give you some free hits up front, man. Yeah, but then they start tapering you off, and then you have to pay. But so my thing is though is that the presence of the loot boxes is not necessarily a problem. If you want to give me randomized skins or whatever, cool. That's your way of trying to monetize your game. I prefer they be direct buy, but if you're gonna have loot boxes, disclose the fucking drop rates and stop being a scumbag. Put clear labeling
is the American way,
right? Put clear labeling on your games media. You know, wherever you would put your ESRB rating. Disclose that there is,
but that might hurt my bottom line.
It will. Disclose that there is gambling, and because there is gambling in there, I'm sorry, Overwatch, but your game is rated adults only now.
M for mature.
But
no, not M for mature. The one above that.
Because that's 17. That's
any game that has gambling in it, per the ESRB, any game that has gambling in it can only be rated AO, adults only, or PEGI 18 in the EU.
And that's why they're
that's because
so hard
of
to keep it
legal requirements to be classified as an adult.
That's the reason why, yeah, exactly what you said. That's the reason why the ESA and the ESRB are fighting so much for loot boxes not to be classified as gambling, is because the moment they get classified as gambling, Overwatch, you know, fucking the Battlefront 2, although that's gone now, they have that taken out. But any of these games,
overhaul all of these games, and then you have to think about, and what's kind of suck for it is they were planning on supporting Overwatch for years and years to come.
Yeah.
The minute those loot boxes are gone, Overwatch is gone.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is that is $1 billion a year. $1 billion per year that Overwatch earns, at least in 2017. I don't know if that's tapered down now, but at least that potential for high hundreds of millions of dollars for that game to make every fucking year. That would devastate Blizzard, like, financially. That is their biggest earner by so much of a huge margin. And that's the thing, is that so maybe they just reclassify that as adults only. Most people don't realize adults only AO games can't be put on store shelves in the US.
Didn't know that.
Nope.
Yeah, you can't put them on store shelves. They have to be in a,
because, like, you know,
the other
They have
types
to
of
be in that back area where all the porn was at Blockbuster.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. They have to be like in a specially secluded area where you have to be 18 to even go into that area type of thing. You know, like
because you know, games that are rated M could be put on store shelves, but may require an ID check on upon sale.
Yeah.
But the adults only games, they can't even put theft risk on them.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, is that because the cover media of an AO game might be potentially explicit, they can't even be put on a store shelf. And that's like, there's a reason why a lot of like, say, the Marvel movies, like the superhero movies they put out, they always try to keep those PG-13, because the moment that it goes R-rated, Deadpool aside, The moment that it goes R-rated, your user base shrinks by a ton, like by like 70%. So where
Yeah, the money spot is PG-13.
yeah, that is the money spot. That is where you get your largest target base, which is why everybody, like, there was so much talk about Deadpool being R-rated, is because most of these things don't think that could
it's
sell.
because you'll get the teenagers who have the most disposable income. If it's PG-13, you'll get adults that'll go watch a PG-13 movie.
Yep.
And basically you're only missing out on the small kids. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I have a teenager. I'll take him to go see a PG-13 movie, but I'm not gonna take my youngest.
Yeah. But so that's the thing, is that's the reason why they really want to fight that adults only classification, because they either have to go and remove the loot boxes from Overwatch, or they have to go and classify Overwatch as adults only, which would devastate new sales.
That would devastate it too, because while a lot of adults play Overwatch, I believe the target audience actually is kids and teenagers. Like, I look at it like my kids. My kids love Overwatch. I took my 9-year-old to a doctor appointment earlier this week, and him and I are sitting on Twitch. Like, I said, "What game do you want to watch?" And he specifically said, "Let's watch Overwatch."
Yeah.
Like, these kids are
like the characters. The characters in most hero shooter caricatures. They're a bit more cartoony.
Right, and that's what I was getting. Because I showed him Siege. He didn't
now,
like Siege.
I don't want. I'm not trying to play the Joe Camel cigarette ad of like cartoon toward kid, but you look at gritty, realistic characters versus cartoony caricatures. Those are going to have a lot wider appeal than grittier, realistic characters.
Yeah,
that's actually what I was getting at. Because when I showed my son Siege, he didn't like it. He said it just looked boring. It looked dull. He loved the colors and the characters in Overwatch.
Exactly. And
when they're very similar kinds of games in the terms of they're both character shooters.
And the thing is I don't think it's necessarily that Overwatch is specifically marketed at kids. I think that it is just targeted.
I think it just appeals to kids, because of how it looks.
That is one of the markets that they try to hit. They try to broaden the base as much as they can, which maybe I don't think it's necessarily that they made the art style and those characters explicitly saying, yeah, we want to try to get kids on there. No, I think that was just their creative method, because I give Blizzard at least enough credit. I love
the Overwatch art style. I won't knock them for that.
Like
awesome.
Yeah, I think that that's largely just their style of doing things, but as a tangential effect of that art style, kids are going to be interested in it because it is cartoony. There are a lot of characters, like the titular cover character of Tracer is very kind of poppy, bubbly, very kid-friendly character, right? Like she's the cavalry's here. Everybody fucking knows that, and it's very kid-friendly. Some of the characters maybe not so much, like the assassin that somehow died and her skin turned. I don't know. You know what? We'll not go into that one. How her skin turned blue, I don't know. Whatever. We'll leave it alone. But the thing is that it's definitely appeals to kids. But that's not even the thing. Is that that's not the worst one, man. You go on your phone and you find apps that are specifically targeted to kids. Like, this is legitimately for kids type app that has fucking loot boxes in it. So
yeah, that's where I draw the line. But I think that also comes down to parenting. Like, my child will bring me a controller for a console. I'm like, hey, will you buy this? And I'm like, what are you trying to buy? Now on the PS4, it'll show you on the buy screen. The Xbox, you have to backtrack. And I'll backtrack and I'll back out of it and say, hey, no, I'm not buying you this loot box. No, I'm not buying this microtransaction. My child, like, for example, Plants vs. Zombies 2, the whole audience is children. And my son tried to get me in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare to buy microtransactions multiple times. Parents have to know. Don't just leave your credit card information in for your kid to get it and say no. Like, don't even let them get started there. Because the kids just want the cool costumes and they don't realize what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, and I like that, and that's the problem, is there's so many, like, not just that, you have that situation, and you can kind of get a unique perspective of that from being a parent, that you're a parent that's educated on the topic, right? So many parents aren't, and just, whatever, here's my credit card number, and they
I
can
don't get why
afford
you
that
give your
shit.
kid your credit card number anyway. Now you miss a mortgage.
You know what? That's the stupidity there. But the thing is that there's also the other side to it, is that there is there's the actual adults with their own income, not rich adults. Most people assume that whales are rich people. Maybe
No,
there
whales
are.
are oftentimes people who just don't know better or who have no
Oh,
self-control.
they
Or
I
their
don't think it's
kids.
I don't think it's a matter of they don't know better. I think it's a matter of legitimately have a gambling addiction. I think that's a major.
Oh no, yeah, there's that too. There's that. I don't want to take away from that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I really see it as there is
Talk about pineapples.
yeah. Listen,
No,
pineapples on
wrong.
pizza
No.
is the right answer, but that's not the topic we're
Wrong.
talking about here.
The
No, it
Rock
isn't.
put pineapple on pizza, so pineapples go on pizza.
Yeah.
That night I like
No.
pineapples on pizza.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Stop.
I like pineapples on pizza.
If you get
I've
them in the
always liked
loot box,
pineapples on pizza.
if you get them in the loot box, you have to open 20 loot boxes to get the pineapples on the pizza.
I'll go buy my own goddamn pineapples from Chase. Fuck them loot boxes.
Fuck the loot boxes.
And do my Halo style tea bag.
So that's never going to happen.
But yeah, in any case, though, the thing is that
Yeah,
a lot of people...
I'm too cheap for loot boxes. I'm the guy that goes to the casino with $10, spends my $10 and leaves.
No, the thing is though, is that a lot of people account for, like, they may know about the kids, but they may not know about the fact that there's a lot of adults out there who are legitimately addicted to gambling, and therefore they are spending all their money. They're fucking breaking themselves, like missing their mortgage payments, going bankrupt, all because they can't control themselves. They have a sickness. They have a fucking disease. Nobody talks about that. Oh, they're whales. They gotta be... I hear everybody say, like, oh, the whales, I wish I had that kind of money. They never consider that the people spending that
kind of money.
They never
How about
consider...
what you think they have it?
Yeah,
they just can't control themselves.
Yeah, the people spending, like $10,000 on loot boxes, they don't realize that those people may be spending $10,000 because they can't control themselves. Yeah. So, man,
they used to have a 401k. They borrowed against it.
Yeah, right.
They
took out. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that goes into hard places. In any case,
like that's beyond. Like we cleared out the on the house. We borrowed against the 401k at a high interest.
To get they wanted to get that Yeti skin for Winston.
Yeah, that Yeti skin wasn't worth it, player.
Or no, I'm sorry. They wanted to open the loot box to get the canvas bag.
No, yes.
Ooh, that burn.
Canvas.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
So, in any case, we're gonna get wrapped up on here. So Xaiphen gets to do first final thoughts because Kev was late. So Xaiphen, final thoughts.
Hey, you know what? I was celebrating my grandfather's 80th birthday. No regrets.
This is
now. Here's the thing for me. My little dopamine rewards is in limited creativity that I'm capable of doing. I have very little artistic talent, so like I said, very limited. So my dopamine rewards involve usually, like the case of fashion framing, except in my case, I can't just do it for Warframe only. So I like to create custom Steam controller profiles, and now I'm opening it up to DualShock 4 profiles through Steam as well. I'm going to be trying to backtrack some of the ones I already posted and post up similar, if not outright matching profiles for the DualShock 4 for anybody that's, actually, makes use of the Steam controller or DualShock 4 to play on. What are you on about?
Yeah, I don't know.
But
yeah.
No, this is I'm shilling for myself. This is tough.
No. I think they were talking about the dude in chat. It was like just. Yeah. Anyway,
I used to be a speaker.
I post up the links to these profiles on Twitter. Now, Twitter only hyperlinks HTTP or HTTPS. So the Steam controller profiles, you'll have to highlight, copy, and paste in a web browser to actually link them into your Steam. But some people may find them handy if controller, either DualShock 4 or Steam controller. So that's, if you actually care, you can follow my Twitter. That's kind of exclusively what it's for, although I post up some funny memes and shit every once in a while.
I have to remember. I just need to like set up buttons in that shit. I think it's Twit. Zai. Is
I got
that
it.
the one? Boom! Look at
Nope,
that.
I didn't get it.
I don't know what it is. I forget it. Anyway, it's
yeah.
twitter.com/obsidiosomnia on there.
Yeah, just make it difficult to say.
Yes.
So.
Yes, we deliberately engineered his thing to be as hard as possible to
Facts.
I think the bot's down because it hasn't done any work.
Let me actually
I do have a request though for the outro song. I know we have our usual outro music. I really need the Fleetwood Mac song. We need to dedicate the outro to Todd Howard tonight.
I'd rather not get my thing flagged. Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, we've been flagged dozens of times.
We've been flagged dozens of times.
Flag right there. The thing is they'll mute our entire podcast shit just for the end of it.
Yeah,
we get at least I was getting flagged when I was dual streaming to YouTube.
Yeah, you were, but I wasn't.
I was getting flagged every week
because you were getting flagged because you were rebroadcasting my streams and.
No, they only flagged it for the music.
Oh really? Oh okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have.
You never got flagged?
Nope, because all my music I paid for the license for it. That's why.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Kev, you gotta get good.
Kev singing into the mic is gonna get us flagged.
Yeah, there was that one time I was live streaming. SOTOR, I think it was. No, I was playing some Warframe with Xaiphen, and Xaiphen might have been in a place, we won't talk about where he was, but he might have been in a place where there might have been a PA system that was playing the radio, and there was a song that came over the PA system very faintly in the background, very distorted, you could barely make it out. YouTube grabbed that shit. They said, nuh-uh. Nope.
Neither is smoking.
Yeah. No, smoking, vape.
Well, vaping is smoking, so...
Yeah,
we won't get into the debate on there.
For another.
There are health benefits.
I mean, it's either this or loot boxes. I think he made his choice.
No, there is health detractors to definitely to vaping. However, it is a better alternative than smoking.
I've yet to see the tests on that. I want to see these tests.
Well, it's just logic, man. You're not getting the tar. You're not getting all the other nasty shit in smoke.
You're still getting smoke.
No, you're not getting smoke. You're getting vapor, and you're getting the nicotine, which nicotine is addictive and dangerous. So you're still getting that, unless you're vaping something that has no nicotine in it. And then
I vape meth. Don't tell anybody.
That's so much better. So in any case, Kev, final thoughts.
My final thoughts are still the same of Lootbox and tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Please stop trying to get us flagged, Kev.
Hey, I'm dedicating this episode to Todd Howard, okay?
Yeah, apparently.
I might start streaming on Twitch again at Glorious Kev. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at Glorious Kev. Even though Mort linked before I changed my Twitter handle. I appreciate that he put me in there. We gotta get that fixed. Other than that, I don't really have much. Happy 80th to my grandfather. I was late because I was out celebrating with him. The party ran later than I expected, and I was doing audio video, so it was like they need me to stay until this is over.
I don't even know what my commands are.
I thought we were gonna be done.
TJ can't leave in the middle of the what?
I was the whole tech team. The hotel that we were using didn't even know what the hell they were doing. It was a horrible experience.
Oh, that drives me crazy. That drives me crazy whenever I have to do the stuff for the hotels and they have their own IT guys.
Oh, I didn't have a problem doing it. I had a problem that their equipment didn't work. And I had to kind of jury rig some stuff. Luckily, one of my uncles was in town. He brought his amazing Bluetooth speaker, and we used that. We used that, and it made and got everything to work. And like we were running like an hour late, but we got it going.
Good stuff. So in any case, if you guys are just tuning in the first time on here, we do a weekly stream on here at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m., 10 p.m. Eastern time. I swear I know what times are. 1 week is a podcast, 1 week is a game stream where we sit down and play some games. This week is obviously a podcast, as you notice that there's no games being played. I know,
and
it's
next
weird.
week is Dragon Age.
Dragon Age. December is the month of Dragon Age, baby. We are all gonna be
10
playing
years since Origins.
Yeah, we're
Think about
gonna.
that. And I think it was as of December, isn't it? December is the 10th year for Dragon Age Origins.
It is. Yep.
Yes.
So we're actually gonna be playing some Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer next week, which is gonna be good fun. I think these guys are all like noobs and scrubs on it, but you know,
I love Dragon Age, but I always admit to being more of a Mass Effect guy. I still play Andromeda.
Which we did. We played that a couple weeks ago. We played some Mass Effect at the beginning of November. So that
we played Mass Effect 3. We didn't play the new one. I still play. I'm the only one that plays the multiplayer still.
That's because you are actually the only person in existence that still plays the multiplayer.
Actually, I still find pubs, surprisingly.
You admitted that it took you forever to find people on that one. You find pubs.
Yeah, well, in gold matches, I can't find people. Silver's the way to go now.
You find pugs quicker in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Actually, about the same amount of time.
That's
which
sad.
is kind of sad in of itself,
Yeah,
considering, you know, Andromeda's 3 years newer.
Yeah. But so in any case, though, we'll be playing Dragon Age next week. We actually might grab some other guests from my stream team on there that have been expressing interest to play some more Inquisition. So that should be fun.
But I'm part of the stream team now.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Yes.
Kev is also part of Team Outpost, which is great fun. Although he barely says anything to any of those guys, so I don't know if they really know who he is. I've tried to hint.
I speak occasionally.
Yeah. So in any case, we're gonna get signed off here. Obviously, feel free to. We do live stream this both on oh good grief, on YouTube and on Twitch. But no, that doesn't work. Oh no, wait, that doesn't work. What? Oh no, you spelled it wrong. That's why. Let's correct that on there. You have to spell things correctly. But we also do stream the audio of the podcast on all the major things. I was thinking like, wait, what? You have to do all the correct spelling. We stream the audio of it to all of the major podcast sources, such as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and all that good stuff. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. Guys, feel free to check out there if you want to listen instead of watch. But obviously, if you want to catch it live, you have to catch it here because this is the best place to watch it. Just saying. So in any case, we'll get signed off here for this week. Join us next week at 7 p.m. Pacific while we play some Dragon Age. Guys, have fun. This is Pixel Crashers. We're headed out, guys. Don't
praise Gaben.
Why? They're on the shit list, man. Fuck. God damn it, Kev.
That's done.
I get it every couple weeks. Every so often he ain't paying attention and I get that praise Gaben in.
Let's just turn this off.
We just need to keep Kev muted throughout the whole fucking podcast.
I'll be in the chat. Praise
I mean, at least prior to the end of it, you know, he starts giving out his closing thoughts. It's like, you know, mute out right there.
Just mute him there.